was an interesting experience. For me, I was very nervous about the whole thing.
Real explosions, rigging galore, cars being launched through the air. Just another day on set for the Spider-Man No Way Home team. CGI played a vital role, and it was used way more often throughout the movie than you'd expect. Let's break it down.
You're holding something in your hand that's just green, like a green thing, and they'll make it something else later.
Number 1. Who was really in control? Honestly, in most of these high-risk moments, it's the stunt coordinators and rigging teams who controlled the actors' movements and safety using harnesses. These compromising and dangerous situations are made possible thanks to the fact that CGI can disguise it all in post. Number 2. Not everyone has to be on set at once. Coordinating all the actors in a Marvel film is tricky, so in cases like this one, Tony Revolori filmed his portion with nothing but a blue screen behind him because of a scheduling conflict. It might not look advanced, but the level of detail needed to make the images flow together seamlessly here is intense. Number 3. Goblin got a glider upgrade. Returning to the screen 20 years later meant Willem Dafoe got a major upgrade, with multiple different rigs to choose from. From scene to scene, the actor was rigged up to gliders attached to arms, or a mechanized glider that could move more on its own, leaving the finishing touches up to the VFX team.
It felt like something new. It's like being a circus performer.
Number 4. They got pretty up close and personal. Not with the real Statue of Liberty, but the practical set they built worked in a pinch, while CGI brought the scene. From the iconic 3 Spideys entering the scene together, to their working with each other to take down the villains, to Doctor Strange floating into the scene, harnesses, special rigging, and blue screens in conjunction with the brilliance of CG made this action sequence on the Statue of Liberty very memorable.
That was great, man. It was so great.
Number 5. You've never seen Electro looking like this. Jamie Foxx got a major upgrade, going from full CG body to only partial CG body. Foxx was really floating, with the help of a special circular rig he was secured to, or, depending on the action, rigged up to a giant mechanical arm moving him through space. Crew members in all blue were key in making the shots smooth. When he needed to whiz through the air in studio, a full pulley system came into play. Number 6. Launch some cars, crush some concrete, no big deal. While CG took care of the details and many of the larger-than-life moments, the team got to have some fun with giant stunts and practical effects. Like that time they literally had a car launched 150 yards through the air, only to crash and damage other cars, with water barrels exploding, bringing the stunt to the next level. While they were at it, they got their hands on some big concrete pipes to launch into the ground with a pulley system and throw some into some other pipes. Need a web to whip off a car door? No problem. This stunt team will rig a system to make it happen. The adrenaline this day on set was high. Number 7. Anyone who could be wanted to be on set for this action. When it came to capturing shots like this, everything had to be perfect since the cost and work it takes to prep is seriously major. Explosion day on set is like the 4th of July, with anyone who's part of the film rushing to get to set to witness the next level pyrotechnics. To make sure they took advantage of the action, a handful of cameras called crash cams were in place close up to capture the brutal explosion while keeping the filmmakers safe. CG only enhanced what the team made a reality. Number 8. They are here to fight. Peter and Goblin's final battle saw the two in the most precarious of places, battling it out with hand-to-hand combat that these actors actually did themselves. A partially built practical set was built so Willem and Tom had a sense of where they were. CG managed to bring the environment to life, as well as to hide all the safety measures in place for the actors, like harnesses, that allowed them to fight full out.
It was the most incredible experience of my career.
Number 9. There were 1,000 different versions for just one moment. When the claw was coming down, the No Way Home team wanted to make sure they did it right. CG was the name of the game when we first meet Doc Ock, from de-aging Alfred Molina in every single shot to every one of his tentacles. Molina spent about 90% of his time on set in a harness. Meanwhile, another percentage of his time was spent standing on a platform. And since that body language didn't make sense for what was being portrayed, Molina's body was usually fully digitally replaced from the neck down. Highly detailed pre-visuals were vital to make before filming what would end up being Tom running around in a mocap suit performing all his stunts, while Molina let his CG arms do all the heavy lifting, making small efforts where he needed to for the camera.
We always needed to keep realism and weight and speed and, action going.
Number 10. It's iconic for a reason. Watching Spider-Man soar through the sky like a flying squirrel only to land perfectly is thanks to a ton of work from the special effects team. Tom did the stunts himself with the help of a harness and practically built sets, but all the original footage would end up being replaced through a process that involved mocking up the full images of every frame of what Tom was doing digitally. Whenever the Iron Spider-Man suit was meant to be used, the team had a physical bust made out of metal that would be brought onto the camera to see how the light would react with it so they could bring the most authentic visuals possible to the CG suit. Number 11. They seriously made it rain. Seriously. CG played a big part in the background and establishing the weather, but one thing it did not do was create all that rain. The special effects team made it pour rain in the studio so Holland could really feel the vibe of this heartbreaking scene. Talk about pathetic fallacy. Not a dry eye or Tom in the house. Number 12. The building itself was looking pretty rough. Green Goblin and Peter really did a number on their surroundings and each other with hand-to-hand combat the two actors did themselves in studio, letting CGI compose the rest of the settings so they could keep the action high. The team was able to safely pull off moments that saw actors going straight out of windows with the help of harnesses that were erased in post. We'd never have guessed this intense moment wasn't totally authentic, but the set they built for the actors really was a perfect base for the editing team to then create one of the most realistic and dramatic looking shots.
It was fun. It was a lot of fun, and the stunts is something I've always really enjoyed.
Number 13. Every detail counts. Cars on the road, signs. The CG is subtle but key for nailing all the details. Digital cars filled in spaces needed in the aerial shots, while signs were actually modified to say different things. In this case, making sure the sign said airport, since it was an important part of the plot. This kind of thought is part of what makes this movie so special. When Peter gets to jump on the car, just a little bit of CG was used to hide the wires, until a whole lot of CG came into play to conceal him in the Iron Spider suit. Number 14. Zendaya's brave face was working hard to pull off these stunts. From freaking out on top of a bridge, which fortunately wasn't so terrifying for the actress, CG taking care of the terrifyingly high backdrop, to swinging through the studio with a harness, yes, but mainly trusting Tom to be in control. Well, that took some guts. The special effects team reflected all the terror of really doing the stunts and more, bringing the appropriate settings to the screen while disguising the safety rigs for the actors.
And we did it, and it was amazing, and I'm proud of myself for doing it.
You dropped 100 feet.
We did it.
Number 15. Settings aren't always what they seem to be. Much of the time, the team wasn't necessarily on location, but they constructed a makeshift version to work with. Like the steps and door frame built in studio, only to be completed in post by what's called set extension.
In a sense, it's easier to create the world rather than shoot it in New York.
Every detail from the way the light hits, floating leaves, to some of the people in the background are courtesy of our pal CGI. Without CG, many of these scenes wouldn't have been possible. In fact, only about 80 shots in the entire movie didn't use VFX in some way. What CGI detail were you most surprised by?